Hey guys, so a little while ago I announced that I was going to be doing a Q&A video to celebrate passing 2,000 subscribers, and since you guys were so awesome to leave me comments on both that video and on my Instagram, today I thought I would finally get around to answering those questions. Because I do have a tendency to ramble, I would suggest you pick up a snack or a drink of some sort, and let's get into the questions. Joanna Carpenter Large asks, what's the one book or edition of a book that you would have to buy if you saw it on a crazy Black Friday sale? Something you've lusted over but can't find or won't pay the regular price for but want. So when I graduated high school, I was working at a children's bookshop, and in the back room we kept all of these more exclusive editions or the nicer editions of books, and in that collection of books we had this one edition of The Hobbit that came in this really beautiful illustrated cardboard box, and then the book itself was green leather and had the title embossed in gold moon runes on the spine. And I have seen it online, but it's always rather pricey, and because I already own like 3 different copies of The Hobbit, it always feels ridiculous when I want to splurge on that. So this is definitely a book I would pick up in a heartbeat if I saw it on a crazy sale. The novel Sanctuary asks, how did you first get into reading? Now, this is something I believe I touched on in my 24 Facts About Me video, but I actually learned to read really old for a school kid in the United States. I believe a lot of people learn to read in like kindergarten, but I didn't actually learn to read until I was almost 9 years old in 2nd grade, and I really was not very good at it at all. I found it really hard and really frustrating. However, my parents were really into just having books all over the house. I wasn't really allowed to watch TV, so any story-related entertainment I got came from books, whether they were reading them to me before bed at night or whether I was just kind of flipping through books and making up my own stories to match the pictures. So when I finally did learn to read, I think I realized that if you just like put up with figuring out how to read those crazy hard words, you got all these really fantastic stories, and I think that's really what got me into reading and what has continued my love of reading throughout all this time. Gabe Carl asks, do you like ice cream? And if you do, what's your favorite flavor? Now, I am actually lactose intolerant, so I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with ice cream because I absolutely love ice cream. It just doesn't necessarily love me back. I would say my favorite flavors, because I have 2, are either cookies and cream or cookie dough. Definitely cookie dough. Hannah Martha 88 asked, is your brother your best friend? I showed this question to my brother and he got a good chuckle out of it, because we are actually really close for siblings, especially siblings in their 20s. We hang out together all the time, we talk on the phone when we don't see each other, and I tag him on Instagram all the time, which is where I think this question came from. Bayrun16 asks, are you working on writing a book? Yes. I feel like I have to kind of explain this answer because I have been working on a book almost continuously since I was 12 years old. I have always wanted to be a published author, and I always have a million story ideas floating around in my head. That being said, I kind of suck with follow through, so at the moment I have a full outline for a full-length novel. I have about 4 chapters fully fleshed out. Obviously they need to be edited, but at least they're there, and I've kind of been stuck there for the past like 5 months. So yes, I'm working on writing a book. Am I making much progress? Not so much. Dan Martin Likes You says, congrats on 2,000. Thanks, Dan. What's your all-time favorite book and why? Generally speaking, my go-to answer for this question is Never Let Me Go. Here, quick grab by Kazuo Ishiguro, because this is a book that kind of came to me at a good time in my life. I read it for the first time as a sophomore in high school, and this was kind of my first introduction to more contemporary literary fiction, and I was really surprised that I loved it. Then I reread it for fun when I went off to college, and it just was the perfect timing to dive back into this book. This is a story about a group of school children who are raised at a very secluded boarding school in the English countryside, and you get the sense early on in the book that they're not normal children, but you don't really know what is different about them. You basically follow these children throughout their childhood, then young adulthood, then going out into the real world through the lens of one of the girls named Kathy H, who is very much concerned with figuring out who she is as an individual. I think that was a perfect read for some young adult going into college, because that's like where you discover yourself, right? Is college, when you kind of break away from your family and you have the opportunity to reinvent yourself if you like. This was just a really interesting look at who you are fundamentally, how that affects what you do going forward. And yeah, I love this so much on so many different levels. Vivka from One Book One Review says, congratulations, how is your writing going? If I remember correctly, you picked up more work a few months ago. Did that stop your writing, or are you still working on your novel? So Vivka and I have been conspiring? No, that's not the word. We've been comforting each other over the job transition phase of our lives. And yes, a few months ago, I did pick up more freelance work, so I've been quite busy with that. But like I said a couple of questions ago, my biggest problem with writing is follow through. So while I have been more busy, I just haven't really been dedicating as much time as I should be to writing. Yes, I have picked up more work, but the whole not writing thing is more down to me just not prioritizing it. Bree Hill has a really interesting question. She says, you just got notified that you're moving to your dream city to work your dream job, all expenses paid tonight at midnight, but you can only bring one book. What book do you grab from your shelf? What's the job and what's the city? Okay, this is such a hard question. First of all, my dream city would be San Francisco. I went there for college, and part of the reason I moved back down to Southern California is that living in San Francisco as a young person with no distinct job is practically impossible. It is a very expensive city, so if I had like an all expense paid trip life in San Francisco, that would be the dream. As for the dream job, I would either be working at one of the small publishing houses in San Francisco like Chronicle Books, or I would be just living in San Francisco, going to literary events and writing novels, which is probably the real dream. But the hardest part of that whole question is, what one book would I bring with me? I don't know. Oh gosh, maybe something by Jane Austen, maybe Sense and Sensibility or Pride and Prejudice. I guess the benefit of moving to San Francisco is that there are so many fantastic bookshops and libraries that I wouldn't ever be far from other books. So yeah, I'm gonna go with something by Jane Austen, because she's a writer I can reread over and over again and never get sick of. Vitmore Gomez has a couple of questions. First of all, have you read the Unheartly Saga by Cynthia Hand? It's amazing. No, I haven't actually heard of that series, but I will have to check it out now, so thank you very much for the recommendation. The second question is, if you got a hold of a magic lamp that would give you 3 wishes, what would you wish for? Or would you prefer not to risk making a wish to a magic lamp? Assuming there are no strings attached to making wishes on this lamp, I would wish for a time turner or some sort of device that would allow me to pause time so that I could get more done in a day. I feel like I'm entitled to one really selfish and materialistic wish, so I would also wish for like unlimited monetary funding for the rest of my life. And my third wish at this moment in time would be to go back and redo the 2016 presidential election. So I'm not gonna get political here on the channel, but if you don't know which way I was leaning already, you obviously haven't been watching my videos. Nargle Catcher also has a few questions. The first of which is, my question is about other hobbies you have. What do you enjoy doing when you're not reading? The easy answer to that question is anything creative, really. I love drawing, which you guys know if you've seen my Fobonichi journal videos. I love knitting and writing, and yeah, I have a hard time sitting still, so anything that I can do to keep my hands busy, really, I love. Her second question is how to get into buddy reads. Now, I am probably not the best person to ask about this because I only just started doing buddy reads a couple of months ago, but I would just say it's kind of like how you would make friends anywhere in the world, whether that's on the internet or not. Just reach out to people, talk to people, comment on people's videos, and if you find other booktubers or bloggers or whoever who have similar tastes to you, just suggest, hey, I noticed we both have this book on our TBR. Would you like to maybe read it together in a buddy read? Philippa Mary, hi Pippa, asks, my question is, do you have any books that you will always go back to reread? Also, what are your favorite foods? I think I've mentioned a lot of the books that I will always go back to reread. Never Let Me Go is definitely one I've gone back to several times. The Hobbit is like total comfort read. Another series I talk about all the time but will definitely always reread is the Ranger's Apprentice series by John Flanagan. That is, again, childhood fantasy that just is like a warm blanket for me when I go back to reread books. That's definitely what I look for. Then as for favorite foods, I am kind of a bread and butter addict. Like, you can offer me fancy foods galore, but I will always turn them down for a good old piece of toast with butter. Don't ask me why. This is a cool question from Literarily Illustrated. Upon hitting 2,000 subscribers, your favorite author calls you up and asks for a single sentence writing prompt for their next book. Who's on the phone and what do you say? I've only read one of David Mitchell's novels to date. I read Number 9 Dream a couple of months ago, I believe, but I can really tell that he's going to be one of my favorite authors going forward. So if he was on the phone, I would specifically ask him to write me a novel about a writer and kind of the different lives this writer lives through his or her writing. That's something I personally have wanted to write for a while but don't really have the skill to do at the moment, so I think David Mitchell could do that really, really well. Vanessa from Jaboski's question is, once you complete your Year of Miyazaki, are you planning on doing any more film series related videos? I've been loving every one and your analysis is always so interesting. Well, first of all, thanks a lot, Vanessa, and thank you so much for watching all of those videos, because while they are a lot of fun to make, they probably require more thought than most of the videos that I make, so I'm really glad that you guys seem to be liking them so much. The short answer is I would love to continue making film related videos, though I don't really have any concrete ideas for that as of yet. Shani M asks if I have any Japanese author recommendations besides Haruki Murakami, and unfortunately I don't have a ton for you guys. I haven't seemed to have read as much Japanese lit this year. However, I would say if you're interested in some kind of really intense, slightly grotesque Japanese literary fiction, I would definitely recommend Kenzaburo Oye. His stuff is definitely harder to get into than Murakami, but I was really, really impressed with his use of language and his use of kind of gross imagery, sort of dark storylines, and so if that sounds interesting to you, I would definitely check out Oye. The other author I would recommend is Natsume Soseki, who is more of a Japanese modern classic author. He's probably not for everybody, but if you're really into Japanese literature and you like that slow-paced, more character than plot-heavy kind of novel, I would suggest checking him out. Gabriel or Gabrielle Malay asks, when is your birthday and what do you want to do after college? So first of all, my birthday is September 17th, and this past September I actually turned 25. So I graduated from college in 2014, and then I did 1 year of law school from 2014 through spring of 2015, and I am now working. I work as a freelance writer for an environmental consulting firm, and I do freelance book reviews and social media management for April Magazine. Which leads me nicely into my last question, which is from Read and Find, who asks, how did you become a contributor on April Magazine, and do you recommend going to grad school for literature? So first of all, April Magazine is a website where we curate posts and articles for East Asian and Southeast Asian women around the world, and it was created because our editor-in-chief Yujin realized that she never saw stuff like this out there for Asian women, specifically Asian women located in Europe. Now, I was really lucky in that I didn't actually have to go looking for April Magazine, but they found me. So I run a blog called The Little Spider in addition to running this channel, which is always linked down in the description box of my videos, by the way. Anyways, I had posted a written review of The Vegetarian by Hong Kang on my blog, and Yujin, our editor-in-chief, found that review through a quick Google search, liked the way I wrote, and emailed me asking if I would be interested in coming on as a book review, bookish content writer. And it all kind of spiraled from there. So I guess my one piece of advice for if you would like to be a freelance writer who specifically focuses on creating book-related content for people, you really need to start a book blog. First of all, that will act as kind of a portfolio where you can showcase your review and discussion skills. But second of all, a lot of online platforms aren't yet fully committed to video content, so it's great to have a booktube channel, but a lot of people are still looking for written content, and if you have a blog, you can really showcase your writing style and they can see whether or not you meet kind of what they want their audience to read. As for going to grad school for literature, I would honestly say that it depends on what you want to do with the rest of your life. So when I went to undergrad, I majored in English literature with a minor in art history, and I wrote my senior thesis on the representations of masculinity in Asian American literature specifically. Now, I always knew that I wanted to study English. I loved English in high school, and from like the second we started thinking about colleges, I knew that I wanted to major in English lit in some capacity. However, I also knew that I didn't want to teach, which is generally the track that you get on when you go to grad school for lit. Because I didn't end up going to grad school for literature, this is all based on my own understanding, and it may not be correct depending on the university you go to, but generally speaking, if you go even just to get a master's in lit, you end up teaching in some capacity, either as a TA or just teaching like an intro to lit course for undergraduate freshmen. Then of course you can get a master's degree, which will allow you to either teach high school or college, whichever really, but most people who are fanatic about studying literature go on to get a PhD and really specialize in a certain topic or era. So basically, if you love academia and you're not afraid of teaching or publishing or perishing, totally check out the grad school route. I have several friends who went on to get masters in lit and are teaching now and really love it, but that just wasn't for me. And that is the end of my 2,000 subscriber Q&A video. So thank you guys so much for leaving me such fantastic questions. I hope I was able to answer them well enough for you guys. I would also like to say a huge thank you to all of my subscribers, because although I don't really care about numbers generally speaking, it's just crazy to me that there are 2,000 of you out there that care enough to subscribe to me and listen to me ramble. I would also like to announce that I will be doing Vlogmas this year. Yay, I'm crazy, help me please. This could be a mad, ridiculously bad mistake, but I'm really looking forward to it. I've got some fun videos planned for you guys. Not a whole lot of them are Christmassy related, but it's just kind of a fun excuse to try and make as many videos in a month as possible. So I am really gonna stop now, I promise. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you are having a fantabulous day, and I will see you next time. Bye!